All right, everyone. Joe and Mike here, back again. BuildAssetsOnline.com. I forgot I never changed my shirt, so I'm still wearing this baggy shirt that I wore to sleep. But either way, we're doing this Land Academy review. We're going to discuss whether or not this course is worth it. And, we've gone through this course. We've been doing it since January. We've added buying and selling land to our business portfolio, and we're going to take you through all of it today. And make sure you stay tuned till the very end because we're going to give you a coupon code if you're interested in Land Academy, and you're going to save a lot. I think it's $500 off of their course and everything that we've used to get our land business to where it is today. So welcome.
Hello. This isn't going to really be, I don't want it to be like a sales video. Actually, I do have some honest critiques. Disclaimer, we definitely like the course, but yeah, this isn't some sort of blatant sales pitch for Land Academy. This is like a very real review.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I have some critiques as well. Um, Not necessarily critiques, but I guess things that going into it you should probably know. So
Yeah,
let's
yeah, absolutely.
let's move on. All right, slide 2. Our online business criteria. Let's talk about this, Mike, because does selling buying and selling land fit into this criteria?
Well, that's what we're going to figure out. So we've only talked about this in a couple previous videos. So let's just briefly go over it again in case maybe this is the first time someone is hearing from us and watching this video. So for us to really think something is worth moving forward on in terms of an online business or making a website, what have you, we try to have it fit a certain criteria. And you can learn more about that in the online asset playbook that we talk about. It's a free course, buildassetsonline.com/playbook, I believe. But long story short, we want a business to have four of the following six things. Compounding results, meaning if you're putting in the same effort over and over and over, are the results going to compound and your earnings compound, or is it going to be kind of just linear? Compounding skill set, meaning if you do something over and over and over, are you actually going to develop expert level skills in that particular field? High margin, pretty obvious. Low risk, do you have to invest a lot of money to do it, and is there high likelihood of you losing that money? Really, what's the monetary risk? Sustainable, is something going to happen within the business or within algorithms, whatever platforms you're using, that can cause you to lose your business? And sellable, can you sell the business for a multiple of its monthly cash flow? So
Yeah.
we're going to see.
So we'll keep these in mind as we move through the presentation and the review. So first of all, let's cover what do you get with Land Academy, and you get a lot. So let's take a look. Any thoughts before I go on to?
I really didn't understand it when I was buying the course as to what everything was and how much is actually included. This is probably one of the longest courses I've ever done in terms of pure hours, but I do think the training materials are a lot more informative than others. So let's move on.
Cool. So what are these first 3 education programs that you get when you sign up?
So essentially, you have the original kind of land buying program, which is cash flow from land. So I think they made it in about 2015. And since then, a lot of things have changed. So this is kind of the original program. It goes over, I think, a lot of the basics in more detail. But Land Academy 1.0 is really the new way that they do things. And um, even they have continuing education, which we're going to talk about, because even in this course, I think things are constantly updating, things are constantly changing in the real estate world. But yeah, this is a more up to date version of the program, and a lot of the tools they use here are still relevant. And then 2.0 is just how to do the buying and selling land for infill lots. And so, if you're not familiar with what infill lots are versus vacant land, an infill lot would be something more, it's considered land that's considered to be in a subdivision. So, essentially, think about a city. It'd be like buying a piece of a piece of land, maybe a 4,000 square foot piece of land in the middle of a city, and knowing that you can sell that to, say, a contractor or a developer for a discount. Whereas rural vacant land is just more general buying pieces of acreage all over the country.
Yeah, and so when someone hears 2015, they might think, "Oh, like wow, this is like old, this is outdated." And while yeah, I think the cash flow from land program is obviously older and there's more tools and everything like that, having watched it and now seeing what we're doing now, I think the fundamentals still hold very true. Like the fundamentals are the same, which is definitely
Mhm.
good for a business, in my opinion, because you want something that's going to be like timeless in a way. Like you don't want something that's going to be a gimmick that like you got to take advantage of this opportunity now or it's going away. So this is definitely not one of those things.
Yeah, and the whole program is not like that. And I know for a fact that they hate that type of thing, especially within the real estate industry. I think that's pretty common. This is heavily, heavily focused on the continuing education, and because it's a complicated. There's a lot of things to learn essentially, but the business itself, the core business, is pretty simple. And so I think the core elements of the business will always stay the same. Just the fact that you're reaching out to a bunch of people, making offers at a discount, and then people are bound to accept the offer, and that's how you create equity. Essentially, you're buying something for less than it's worth.
Yeah.
So the methods and the techniques and the tools will be changing, but basics are the same. I do recommend you watch both Cash Flow from Land and Land Academy 1.0 before moving on to 2.0 is like a whole different thing. So I don't recommend doing both.
Cool. All right, moving on. So due diligence, property data. So yeah, this is basically, I mean, all the tools that we're using in our business, and we get access to them from our Land Academy membership.
Yeah, and there is a monthly fee with the membership, and so it gives you access to all these things. And it's not a cheap monthly fee either. So, but you get access to Core Logic, which is just essentially it's a real estate program. It allows you to pull data for different counties, people that own particular acreages, people that own any aspect about a property. You can essentially find a list of people of owners that fit that aspect with their property and just download a huge CSV of it. So that's what we do to generate the data to send mail. It's all taken from the county. Title Pro 24/7. I'm not fully sure how much functionality there is within it. I think I'm missing out on some stuff, but really what we use it for is to do more of a title search on a particular property, meaning who owns the property, where is it located, any transaction details, any zoning details. And so you can use this for due diligence, say looking up a property, making sure the owner is correct, seeing if someone bought it previously, seeing what the book and page number is, so that you can look it up on the deed website. Um, so, yeah, data tree is just another kind of version of these ownership data programs. I'm not really too sure how to use it. I don't use it, but I think the difference is all three of these programs kind of provide a similar service, but just in a different fashion. So there's some things you can do on one program and not do on another. And it really depends what you're trying to get into. Like Data Tree, I think would be the most efficient program if, say, you wanted to send out neighbor letters to a group of people. And so you wanted to draw a polygon around a particular street and download every single owner that was on that street and then send them a piece of mail. So Data Tree would be good for that. But you also get you have to pay for Neighbor Scoop separately. So I think you do. I think you get a discount for being a member, but Neighbor Scoop essentially takes that ownership polygon sort of radius download thing and incorporates that with Parcel Fact, which essentially allows you to take a property. So a property will have a parcel number, a tax number, and you can plug that in. You can plug in the county, and it pulls up the boundaries of the property, pulls up really as much as it can. And I know a lot of people who are watching this may not even have heard of these things, and so that's kind of what I want to get into. Is I think there's a lot of potential within this program, but there's a lot to learn, Joe.
Yeah, there is a lot to learn. There was a lot of little. I mean, you definitely know more about the details of the day in and day out than me, but I know coming up when we were putting all our systems in place, there was a lot of little things that we had to figure out. Like, for example, they don't tell you like how to make a website on.
Mm,
They just tell you basically make a website and then start selling your land on there. Um,
mm.
which is fine. We have experience doing that. We're
You
not.
know, and actually, I think that's really important that they do that because they're setting the stage that like they're setting the stage of how you need to act as an owner of a business like this. And I think doing something like setting up a website, if you don't have the budget to set up a website yourself, or sorry, don't have the budget to outsource getting a website set up, then this might not be something for
Yeah.
you.
What I was gonna say is I hate to say this, and this is not an insult to our students, but if I feel like if we were to like have that in our course, like our students would like freak out, like if we
Yeah.
were if we didn't show them how to make the website, like because everyone would be asking us like a million questions, how do I do it, blah blah blah, um, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I guess it depends on
Mhm.
what you want to do as the course owner, but that's just something you have to be ready for because making the website, you got to design it a certain way, make sure you're showing everything about the property, make sure you're embedding things like maps, photos, all that kind of stuff, all the little details
Yeah.
of selling the land. You have to kind of fill in those gaps, which is fine, but I think those little details took us a little while to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And I think just off the bat, if you are like to try and set up these things yourself and for, Steve to do a tutorial on how to do that is already a waste of time because you just need to get this up. You need to get it done. And if you can't spend $1,000 or 500 or whatever to just get a website done professionally so that you can say, hey, like these are the elements I want going off of say other people's sites or just having something to model, giving that to a developer and saying, here, just make something very similar to this, then you're burning just hours and hours of time you could be using to further your education when it comes to the actual buying and selling land or doing something important like looking up counties and doing the pricing data and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you definitely want to come into Land Academy ready to act like a business owner in that sense.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my it's not really so much of a critique, but I guess it's just that,
No, I think it's good because it sets the tone off the bat
yeah.
that that you can't get hung up on this. You just have to do it. Let's go into the actual important stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think some people, if they're not ready, if they're not in the right mindset, then they will get caught up in it, unfortunately. I think it just comes down to things like,
Mhm.
little like experience, confidence, and things like that. But that doesn't so much have to do with Land Academy as have to do with any business. When it comes to the stuff we do, if we set out to do something, we're gonna find a way to do it. Period. Like
Mhm.
we're not gonna get bogged down in those little details, and I'm glad they don't have it in the course. I think
Yeah.
because
I think you might have tried to. You might have tried to set it up yourself if they had something about that.
yeah,
So,
yeah, we
which
just
would have been fun.
yeah. All right, so let's move on.
Yeah.
Selling.
Actually, did you? Well, I want to mention one last thing about this slide. The one last piece.
Okay.
So you get for due diligence, you also get access to CountyWise, which is something that I think is awesome. Essentially, it's a map of the U.S. You can click into it shows you every single county in every single state. It shows you the website, a bunch of population data for each individual county, and there's also population heat maps. So that's really important when it comes down to getting a feel for the types of areas you want to send mail to. Um, and I think a lot of people maybe in the course take for granted, how accessible these tools are, because this makes doing everything that you need to do very, very easy. And I think without these tools, which they created, doing this would be just so much work that if you didn't have some sort of real estate experience, you may never be able to figure this all out.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Like the tools, they give you like literally everything you need, and you almost kind of take it for granted. They give you everything you need for the buying of the land process, which is ideally, which is really the most important, is getting the property for cheap, buying undervalued land and then reselling it as a given because you bought it at such a cheap price. And they give you all the tools to do that. And everything else in between is just, it's just noise. So,
Yeah.
all right, moving on.
So this is kind of the things this is what we're looking at right now. All these screenshots have been inside the members area once you own the course. So this is showing you exactly what's within there. So they show you for selling property. They have Landpin is a land selling site of theirs where anyone can go if you're a member and list your property. We don't really use it. I don't know how much traffic it actually gets. I think we've looked it up on Ahrefs before, and it wasn't. I don't know. We listed it a couple times. I don't think it did anything, so we stopped doing it. Maybe we should do it again. I don't know. Offers to owners. This is how you, after you download data from the county, you price it. This is how you turn the data into thousands and thousands of pieces of mail going out to the owners. So this is another thing that was made by Steve and Jill. And yeah, very, very important tool. There are third parties that do this. I don't think it's as cheap. And these people obviously just understand exactly what you're doing. Things get complicated when you're going to a third party printer and you need to do the mail merge yourself, kind of work with them. They know exactly what you're doing. I just send them my data. I send them a template that they give you for sending mail, and they take care of all of it.
Yeah, yeah. They've really well. So what is the screenshot for Land and Farm and Land Watch? Because I know
I don't know. I think back in the day, Land and Farm and Land Watch, which for people listening are two of the bigger land selling sites. Land Watch is for sure the biggest, but I think back in the day there may have been some affiliate program, or Land Watch actually used to be a lot cheaper. These were separate sites. So then recently, Land Watch, Land and Farm, Lands of America, all got bought out by some company. They own a LoopNet. So it all got integrated, it all got more expensive. So these links they're just links to the website. But Deed Perfect is actually really important as well. It allows you to create deeds for whatever state that you're selling in. And so this is more helpful if you're buying cheaper properties, because you'll be more inclined to just handle everything yourself, which you learned in the course. Like, you can close a property yourself. You don't need to get a title company involved. You don't need to get a lawyer involved. You're taking on certain risks when you do that, but there are tools in the course to help you mitigate the risk. And yeah, so you can acquire property really, really cheaply and really quickly doing it yourself with a notary, and you can use Deed Perfect to create the deeds for that.
Do we use Deed Perfect to create the deeds?
If we do a notary close, which we don't really do much of anymore, they don't advise you to do notary closes after you're spending more than $5,000.
Because it's just more efficient to have the lawyer do it.
And it's less risk.
Gotcha.
Because I think doing due diligence and stuff, it's hard to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You may never, and so under $5,000, it's less risk that you'll be spending $20,000 on a property and there's an easement going through it, so you can't build on it. There's like some issue with it that you didn't find during your research, and now the property is literally worthless.
Right. So that's why I guess you have the title company and the lawyer do it rather than the notary. Right?
Yeah, they're gonna look at everything properly, and you can get title insurance on it, showing that essentially, what the title company says is true. So gives you a lot more. Also, sellers might want to see title insurance. Yes. So you would do a notary close if you don't want that insurance.
Yeah, especially for the more expensive properties, they're probably going to want to see title insurance. All right, so moving on. So this is you're talking about here in this screenshot. This is, you get access to, they do weekly webinars, right?
Yeah,
members only webinars.
Yeah, and so I mean, this is something that I think is a really great idea, because they really give 2 hours every single week to answering any questions you have. You can post properties that you may be closing on, ask them questions, or ask them if it's worth doing. And we're going to talk about that, I think, later. But yeah, I think without this, I don't know if we'd be able to do what we did. Like, I don't know if we would have been able to accomplish everything because there's so much to learn. Again, the nature of the business itself is very simple, but there's so many little things and idiosyncrasies and just learning the particular area that you're in that it's not something you can. I think there's a steep learning curve to this stuff, and being able to ask them questions or have them look at other people's properties and kind of get a feel for what they're thinking, what they're what's in their heads when they're looking at all these properties. It helps you really advance your knowledge.
Cool. So that's definitely, I mean, definitely good support there, which is what you would need for something like this. So now we're talking about the next slide, access to the forum.
Yeah, so I think you can make a free account and get access to all of these except for the pro only member forum. So that's really the only place I go in. There's not too much conversation in other places, but I think yeah, the forum is good as well because you can connect with other members. I think it's I think we tend to shy away from like having something like a Facebook group where members can interact kind of I don't know. Sometimes they interact and they give each other bad advice. But with this, you have a moderator who is, an advanced land seller, and sometimes they chime in. I think the forum, it's a lot more thought out. There's a lot to learn in the forum. It's not just like, why isn't my business working? Because honestly, you really, really don't see that here, which
Yeah.
is really surprising, the amount of success you see people having.
The forums, it's actually easy to find stuff compared to a Facebook group. I remember we were looking
Yeah.
up just simple stuff about like elevation profiles. I remember like, how do I make the elevation profile? And I was really able to search the forum and find, how to use the KML files for Google Earth, and I was able to just find a thread on that. That would never happen in a Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah. So that stuff like that is really good. And yeah, I found it to be useful. The thing is, it's crazy how in this industry things change so drastically versus what we're doing. Because I think about 2017, and as far as what we were doing in our business, Joe, it's really not that different between what we do
Yeah.
from what we do now. I think we're just a lot more precise, but the tools we use haven't changed. It's really the same. With land investing, I feel like I don't even like reading threads that are more than 2 years old, maybe even one, because it doesn't feel like the same environment. Things are so rapidly changing because it's subject to the real estate market.
Yeah.
And we can talk about how, in my opinion, it's a lot more stable and a lot more risk free than doing real estate as a whole. But yeah, things change.
Yeah, and for those who don't actually know what we do, if this is your first video watching us, we sell expensive products online. We drop ship them, so we never take inventory of them. We publish books on Amazon Kindle. We make blogs. We do all sorts of online businesses. So Mike was kind of comparing this to that, which surprisingly, yeah, that kind of stuff hasn't really changed too much in the past couple years. Whereas, Mike was saying that there's always new real estate tools and whatnot coming out, which is pretty interesting. You would think it'd be the other way around, but
yeah. I mean, we have Google Ads accounts that we set up in 2017, and they still bring in hundreds of thousands each month in terms of revenue without really tweaking them.
yeah,
This isn't like that. It does require a bit more.
yeah.
You got to follow it.
So let's look at some results. 8 months in, yeah, we started in January. That's literally when we started watching the course. I think it was after New Year's. 15,000 letters sent. I haven't seen this before, Mike. 18 properties acquired, 7 in escrow. One for 600 letters. You're saying for every 600 letters we got a property, right?
I'm saying for 15,000 letters sent out, 18 plus 7 is 25. So
Oh, sorry.
25, 25 divided by 15,000. Our results so far is we've bought a property for every 600 letters we've sent out.
Yeah. So what is this mistake? Like, what is this mistake you're talking about?
So I think there are some properties in hindsight I would not have bought
Mm-hmm.
just because I think we jumped the gun maybe a couple times and we didn't know what we were doing, I think, as much as we do now because we just didn't have enough feedback to understand if it was something we should buy, if something it wasn't. But I don't think we will lose much money on these properties if we lose any money at all. I just don't think I would have bought them again. And I don't think they were worth doing. So,
Well, so what do you mean by 1/1,500 to 600 CPA?
so what I mean is instead of going one for 600,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be more conservative because I wouldn't have bought a couple of those properties in hindsight,
Right.
right? Out
Yeah.
of the 18 we acquired and 7 in escrow, I would not have bought all those. So
Yeah.
instead of one for 600, let's assume one for 1,000.
Right. Yeah. So I think actually in the beginning, I think we purposefully were like, yeah, let's just buy them. Like if it was not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
break our
because we had to get
budget.
that feedback. We
Yeah.
had to get that feedback.
Yeah.
Um, and I think going into this, we just figured the risk was pretty low because really, and when you're doing your due diligence, you see a property, someone signs an offer for the letter you sent out. If it's too high, you can just tell them no. You don't sign it. You drop the deal. If you think you're getting a good deal and they sign it and you go through with it, well, before you go through with it, you can check out what other land is selling in that zip code or in the county, in the state, etc. And if the price you're buying this piece of land for, other things are selling for double or triple, even quadruple in that particular market, then it seems pretty unlikely that you will completely lose.
Yeah. The risk, I mean, and that's why we kind of were more aggressive at the beginning. And we're willing to lose a little bit or break even because we just had to learn. And that's how kind of we approach
Yeah.
everything.
If you can learn at break even, then that is, I think, one of the most powerful things in online business or even business in general.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's the whole idea of ClickFunnels, is that your paid traffic is breaking even, and so you're gathering all this data for free,
Yeah.
and that's how you really create a very very lucrative business. Is you want to be able to do things, get feedback, and break even at least, or if you can make a profit, then that's incredible.
Yeah. Learning at
So
break even is, we never really talked about that, but very, very important.
yeah,
So moving on with the results, we spent 8,000 to 9,000 spent in mail and data collection. We've sold 8 properties so far, and 29,000 estimated profit from cash and term deals. And what do you mean when you say 6,000 to deal funding? Do you mean we would have
I
made
think
we would have made more if we didn't do the deal funding? So we bought someone else funded buying of the properties. We had to split the profits with them. We would have made 6,000 more if we didn't do that.
yeah, yeah. And one thing I don't have in here is the fact that with the course, you also get access to the deal funding website that they have. And this is also something that is ridiculous. You don't see this in any of the online stuff that we do. Essentially, there are people that are in the course that don't even send out their own mail and try and buy their own properties. They just want to invest their money with other people that have gone and done the work. And so it basically gives you a point where you can do the deal without spending any of your own money for the property itself. You just have to spend money doing the marketing and all that. And so you can start selling, say, a $20,000 property, and it doesn't cost you anything upfront to do it. And so that's another very important thing.
Yeah, talk about learning at cost.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think we're going to be getting away from this now a little bit more because we know what we're doing, I think. And so we were really doing it to mitigate our risk, right? we're not out to screw anyone over, but if we made a mistake, if someone is volunteering their money, then that's, I mean, what's Warren Buffett's phrase? The key is don't lose money.
Yeah, something like that.
But we haven't lost money on any deal fund yet. But I think it's just it takes 50% of your margin away, and so we have the money to invest, but
Yeah.
I would call it leveraged or deleveraged learning.
Yeah.
We don't have leverage.
So our complaints. What are our complaints, Mike? Due diligence. You listed that here on the slide.
Yeah, that was my main complaint. I think because there's not enough time in the course given to how to actually do it, and I think they certainly talk about it a little bit. It's really something they could go more in depth on because there's different areas, there's different due diligence you need to do. Some places you can't even look up the maps on NeighborScoop or any of that type of software. You actually need to go to the county website and look at like a tax map, or there's nothing in the course on like how to identify wetlands or essentially like slope issues, stuff like that, or water and sewer. So I think that can lead to you buying some bad properties, which we may have done. But yeah, what do you have to say, Joe?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, this is definitely stuff that you'll pick up along the way. You'll become aware of certain things as you watch the weekly webinars and, spend some time on the forums and actually get your hands dirty in the business. But I think, yeah, no, I agree with you, Mike. The thing I said before about the website, how they don't teach you how to make a website and whatnot, that's not really a complaint. This is more of something where I would recommend that they would add it to the course because, like, even not necessarily like it would be hard to add every due diligence scenario to the course, but like I think going in with like a checklist, like a 15, 20 point checklist, like here are the things you should look out for.
Well, actually, I think they do give you a checklist, but I don't know. I wasn't.
Do they?
I felt like I didn't understand how to, because when you're getting all these properties in, because you can get a lot of signed offers and you can have a lot of stuff on the table, and you have to pick kind of what you actually want to buy. So to me, I felt like I didn't really understand if you should be doing all this due diligence on all these properties or just kind of gloss over. And really, I was looking at what they do on the weekly calls, and that's how I was deciding whether to buy something or not, which I think was the problem. And we've gotten bad advice from them as well, as far as what properties we should buy and not.
Right. Just because, I mean, I think
Not bad, but advice that turned out to be incorrect.
well, they're going to be doing some basic due diligence on the
Yeah.
webinars, but it's not like you have to go in and do even more due diligence. They're going to give you their overview after looking at the property for a very short amount of time compared to what would be needed, I think.
Yeah, I think that led me in the wrong direction to just like blindly go by what they say or take that as having maybe more value than it does, because I mean, it's not their fault, but they don't know because they're not in that area. They can't really there's things that can boost the value of a property or reduce the value of a property that they don't really go into. They'll look at it, they'll say, oh, I like it based off this and this. And yeah, but you need to do, I think, more due diligence. But the problem is that it takes up time. So I'm not really regretful that we bought the things that we did, because again, it's a learning experience. And I think we're still up.
Yeah, I don't think
We're
you're gonna. Here's the
we're
thing
still
with
up.
what they teach. It's so the way they teach you to send the mail and do all that stuff to buy undervalued properties. If you go into it kind of conservatively, like we did, I think the odds of you making a huge, massive money losing mistake are going to be very low. Like
Yeah.
if you're conservative about it. Plus, if you are even super conservative about it, you can just start with the deal funding like off of the like right out of the gate. So you can, I
Yeah.
think, we learned some stuff that way definitely just by talking
Yeah.
with people
Yeah.
with investing. So yeah, I
And
think
seeing which property people were able to fund, you know, and also the deal funders, they might know stuff that you don't know. So it's kind of a way to connect with them. And I'm sure a lot of these people have sold many, many properties doing deal funding.
yeah,
And so they have more experience. They can look at something and maybe give advice. So I think that's good for a new person.
yeah. So you have the resources to sort out this due diligence stuff. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
I would say it's one
I
of
think
the,
I think I was kind of misled in terms of how much due diligence it really takes.
yeah. Okay. So is Land Academy worth it? Emoji. Uh,
What do you think?
I think absolutely. I mean, we're getting pretty far with it. We're scaling it up. I think our results for the first 8 months, having no real estate experience, is really, really happy with that. And I think it's only going to go up from here. We always say, think of, well, we didn't come up with this, but think about what you could do in 3 years and 5 years. I think when we start hitting the 3 year and the 5 year mark with this,
Mhm.
this can easily turn into a 7-figure business.
Oh yeah. And if you go back to the slide where we talk about the results so far,
Oh wait,
there is something I do want to point out.
and what's that?
So this is our profit from the properties that we've already sold, meaning based on off of the mail, right? We're already up just off of the 8 properties that we sold out of the 25 that we are in the process of selling or acquiring based on the 8,000 to 9,000 spent on mail.
Right. So there's more where that came from, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We only sold maybe a third of the properties that we've acquired through that mail.
Yeah. So we have a good amount of equity in properties now, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, happy to own properties. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's as good as cash in the bank.
And that's what I like about this is it's not like you're spending $10,000 on some ridiculous, stupid Amazon FBA product.
Yeah.
And think something goes wrong, you have 10,000 of these in your house, and your wife hates you.
Yeah.
This is like, it's a nice thing to have. I don't know. Something goes wrong. I got 20 acres. I'm not telling you where it is.
Yeah, definitely. That's something very important. I mean, any other business, what are you investing into? Like, you're not this. I would say having land is going to have value always. Whereas with any other business, say for example, I mean, even if you were to outside of or outside of online business, if you were to open like a pizza shop, and suddenly you got to buy this $20,000 pizza oven, you could probably
Yeah.
resell the pizza oven, but it's not going to have as much value like if you bought it new. You gotta it's better to have land than a pizza oven or any other business asset, I would say.
Yeah, and honestly, I think even the properties that we bought, if we bought them ourselves, we could have we could also, if they don't sell, like for whatever reason, they hang around for a year or two, and even to, I think, make a 20% profit in a year or two is actually better than the market, right? It's better than having your money in a savings account, even maybe even an index fund.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
to make a 20% return in 2 years as a worst case scenario really isn't that bad. But if you wanted to just kind of get rid of things, you can, or make them cash flow, then you can sell things on terms. And so that's the cash flow from land program is a lot more about that because it was a lot more popular, I guess, for the times. Essentially, you buy a piece of property, and instead of selling it for cash, you say, okay, give me $5,000 down, $250 a month for however many months. You can charge interest. You can own the property, but it's a rent to own type situation. So since it's vacant land, essentially they can do whatever they want on it, and they make monthly payments, and then once they pay it off completely, then they own the property. Whereas this is a lot way more risk free than having being a landlord and having a tenant and they don't pay, you can't evict them. It's a huge hassle. This is much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So our online business criteria, the 4 out of 6 we talked about before, it's a compounding skill set. You can easily scale this business. It's high margin. Obviously, you're selling expensive things for a good margin.
This is one of the high. This is why we got into it. This is why I wanted to get into it, because I realized I was working for a couple of years to build up these websites and make them cash flow, and that's nice. And then at the end, you can sell it for a particular multiple. With this, there's the potential to literally like get the cash out as a repeatable multiple times monthly process.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just takes a few high margin deals to have an amazing income.
Yeah, because relative to what the average salary is in the U.S., the way that you can do deals and the amount of money you can make off of doing deals, like I said, Joe, it's pretty standard. It's a lot of people make $10,000 profit off of each property they sell, and so to do one of those a month as $10,000 as capital gains, possibly, that's nothing to sneeze at.
I don't quite. We haven't done our taxes on this yet, so I don't quite know.
It may or may not be. It's not tax advice.
Yeah,
it does depend. There is a discussion in the land investors forum. I think it does depend where you are, how you set up your LLC or your company, but yeah, you have to be seen.
Low risk. We already covered this. As long as you approach it the right way, you can invest in. You can do deal funding where you're basically not risking any of your money. You start out with small properties. Definitely fits the low risk criteria. Sustainable. I think once you start to get into this, you're seeing that there's always land available. It's like
Well, I think you had this concern, Joe. You're like, how is this still possible? Why isn't this saturated yet?
Yeah, well, I think it's always moving. It's kind of like housing. It's like there's always new houses being bought and sold, and it's just a moving, living thing that's always in flux.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. That's just this business is a lot more market based. It's just like the stock market. How a particular stock there can go up, it can go down. It's a moving, breathing thing. So is the real estate market, but land is particularly, I'd say, non-volatile or less volatile than housing market. And of course, I think this is really the best way to buy stuff super undervalued. And so if you already bought it undervalued, it's low risk. Again, the chances of something happening and you completely losing your shirt are very minimal.
Yeah. And that was sustainable. So we covered that. It fits, in terms of
sellable. It's not sellable, but like I was saying before, it's kind of, it's like literally selling a website every sale. So although you can't sell the main business part of it, the business itself really has no way of going extinct because it's just buying undervalued land.
You could possibly sell your portfolio of land that you have at the, say you have a bunch of I don't know, say for whatever reason.
But it's not like the traditional way that we talk about selling websites where you sign a non-compete. How do you non-compete?
Yeah, no, I still wouldn't give it the gold star for sellable, but I'm saying there's
I don't think this needs it because of how sustainable it is.
Yeah. So, Mike, if they want to try out Land Academy, they can go to landacademy.com/membership-plans. Coupon code BAO. They can save $500. I mean, it's been clear. We would recommend it despite the critiques that we gave. I think.
Yeah. Well, who is this not for? Who shouldn't do this?
I think if you are, I don't think it's limited to any one person, like in terms of your budget, because like I said, you can do the deal funding, but you have to be willing to work out the little details no matter what happens. That's the thing. Like if
Yeah.
you're not willing to go and do the work and expect that you're going to have to learn a lot and it's going to be delivered to you on a silver platter,
Yeah.
then it's not for you. You have to be willing to put the work in.
Yeah. If you want to buy a turnkey land business, then you can get out of town.
Yeah.
'Cause it's never going to happen. And if that's your mindset, then that's really the first thing you need to fix, because I think this is something that we can do for a very, very long time. And in order for it to be that type of situation, you can't, not everybody can get in. I think those who are willing to put in the work, and thankfully, Land Academy provides all these tools to make it easy, but not everybody can do it. So I think it gives you protection in and of itself.
Yeah, be ready to go in with a tenacious personality to get it done. But
But
other
no, you also need money to do the mail.
right to do the
So
mail. So yeah, you would need a cup. Sorry, say again.
it's not particularly cheap.
Right, yeah, I forgot about the mail costs. I mean, what would you say is a minimum budget for mail? Like a couple thousand?
I say we sent what we sent out. I'd say is the minimum to form an opinion,
Cool. So
because that's the thing. You need to be going in. If you can go in with $10,000 to say, okay, I'm going to spend this $10,000 learning this, no matter what, I think in the end you will come out ahead. You
yeah,
can't say that for an FBA business, which takes a similar startup cost, because you may not come out ahead if you screw up on whatever. With this, there is a lot of safety to screw up, because even if you screw up on one deal, the chances of you screwing up on like all of them is pretty low. So, and screwing up in a really bad way where you can't even sell it at break even.
yeah, and you're not going to. I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah,
Well, I was saying you don't have to spend the you don't have to spend it all in one month. You can send out
yeah,
$1,000 of mail each month as you're kind of feeling it out and scale up aggressive. We're talking about over the course of like
yeah,
a
exactly.
year or so.
Yeah, spend 5 months, spend 5 or 6 months going through the budget, but just have it in your head that you're going to spend that money no matter what. And
Yeah,
I think that's just the mindset you need to have.
yeah. All right, so that's about it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed the Land Academy review. Any final words, Mike?
How long was that?
47 minutes.
All right, wow, it's in depth.
We covered a lot, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave us any questions in the comments on YouTube. We'll also put this out as a podcast, and yeah.
Thank you.
And
Take it easy.
hit the like and subscribe, guys. Hit it, and the bell icon. All right.
Smash it.
Yeah, break
it
it.
easy.
See ya, guys.
Take it easy.